It's Christine Wilson and Safira Galoob, and you'll thank us later. Tune in every week and hang out with us because we're a lot of fun.
And no topics off the record, we decided. We are open to talking about everything together with a bit of a sense of humor, a lot of self-forgiveness, a lot of grace, and always being wiser on the other end. Bring it on, girls and boys.
You know what? You'll thank me later that I'm telling you about this. You'll thank me. They're going to hate us, Safira. It's going to be nuts.
Well, good morning, all of my friends. Hope everybody's week so far.
Good. We had our M2M Friendsgiving last night.
Oh, so is it like the warm up for the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving? It's like a stretch class before the holidays start.
And I
exactly
going to grab one. We made cookies. I'm like thinking about eating one at this moment.
We had this really nice baker named Melissa lead us on how to make those fancy Levain chocolate chip cookies.
They're huge.
What a fantastic team building exercise. I love that.
It was fun. Since we're all over the place, we have to figure out ways to do things on Zoom. I want to do an in-person in the early 2025, but this was a way for us to be able to do something together.
I love it. As we start our episode today on our holidays, we're going to talk about holidays today. I wanted to share that I have our favorite chef from Sawyer coming to DC. And if we wanted to do a cooking class on how to do a paella, we could totally do that.
How did you work that out?
We were in Sawyer, my little village, and we were having duck at his restaurant. And I was just like, scrolling through my phone, and I noticed that I had all these miles. And then I just checked, well, how much would it be to fly him in for Luca's birthday? And it was like 35,000 miles. And I just said to him, would you like to come to DC to my son's 18th birthday and I'll fly you there? He was like, yeah. I said, what dates? And I literally, within 1 minute, booked it and he's coming. So we should definitely do a paella.
Is this the restaurant that Gio loves to go to all the time?
Yes. And it's the one where the chef comes out and brings your meals. It's fantastic. I mean,
and you tried to go behind the bar?
Yes. And I got in trouble. And it's interesting. The ideal situation for us is if we just had a chef to come in and do all the holiday cooking, because I think it's so funny when people talk about the holidays, because first of all, we are not a cooking society like we used to be. I mean, I'm a cook. I think different people have different levels of cooking in their life, but how stressful it's like, over the next 6 weeks, I've got to be prepared to run a marathon, but I haven't been training the entire year. So we thought we would talk about kind of strategies or how people kind of go through the holidays to maximize a good experience, to minimize stress. Yeah, so that's what we thought we would talk about today. It is definitely a ubiquitous concern of everyone, even though everybody kind of faces it and comes to it a little bit from a different perspective.
I just need you guys to understand how Safira is a cook, a chef, and I am not. So I invited Safira years ago to go to the pool, eat dinner at the pool night, and it ended up raining. And she's like, well, I'll just bring all the food that I prepared over to your house. And so when I go to the pool, maybe I'll order Moby Dick kebabs or pizza or grab some hot dogs. Safira brought over the most amazing dinner. I mean, it was like on platters. It was salads with all sorts of cool things. Oj and I look at each other and we're like, oh my God, we need to invite her over to cook for us whenever possible. I stop at her house and she'll be like, oh, I'm just throwing a little dinner together. Do you want it? And like this most elegant meal comes out. And I look at Luca, her son. I'm like, do you eat like this all the time? This is not how it works at my house.
I think I draw a couple of good carbs those days because I'm not actually. And by the way, it may look good once it's presented, but like getting me there, it's really, really messy.
Oh my God. It's so good.
This duck, like on the outside, it looks really nice, but underneath I'm like waddling or I'm swimming like mad.
You're paddling underneath. I will say you have a different level of cooking skill than I have. You also, okay. So you guys know, like, the person who goes and really finds all the freshest ingredients and makes everything. I am Shortcut Sally. I'm like, if there's a can that I can open that makes it look like I did it. And my husband laughs all the time. He's like, why wouldn't you make the dough? And I'm like, because you can buy it made. I don't know.
You're the smarter between the two of us. I promise you. You were absolutely.
No, mine's full of preservatives. I know it's bad. I know, but I just don't have the skills and the time or quite frankly, the interest.
I think you just said it. So I think let's start today's episode with what is your interest around the holidays? And I want to put out there, and this kind of goes back to some of these early conversations we've had, even like you go back to you against the world or people's expectations of you, and particularly, oh my God, in a world of social media. I think everybody, including us, before the holidays start, should say to themselves, what do I want this holiday to be about? Who do I want to spend it with? And here are the things that I think I do all the time. How do I want to show up and what do I want to accomplish? And I think if that can be like your mantra, then it kind of develops from there, as opposed to letting the world define what the holidays should look like for you. I think every human being listening to this should think about what do they humanly, like they, from their own perspective, want the holidays to look like. And I know, Nicole, you're hosting Thanksgiving for the first time. So your answer is going to be very different than Christine's and mine.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, Nicole, it's you got to decide, is it going to be picture perfect for Home and Gardens magazine, or is it going to be fun? Because sometimes they can't both happen.
Right. Well, the nice thing for me is I'm like easing myself into holiday hosting because it'll just be myself, my husband, and then my in-laws. That makes it a little less stressful. And that's like, my husband makes fun of me because I did a practice turkey last week. I'm someone who I find joy and like relaxation in cooking. Like my love language is feeding other people.
Mm-hmm.
I love to, hand out the cookie gift baskets and make food and hand them out to the neighbors and my friends and family and that kind of thing. So he was like, Nicole, it's going to be good. Like, why do you need to practice turkey? And I'm like, because it'll make me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had a practice turkey. And then
how was your practice turkey?
It turned out wonderfully, very happy. So that gave me the confidence that I like needed, and then I made homemade like dinner rolls. I tried those for the first time. 10 out of 10. Mike ate 4 and then laid on the floor in the living room for like an hour and a half.
I think you're like knocked Thanksgiving out of the park.
Right. Again, like just that was the confidence boost I needed. I will say being in charge of the logistics of the timing on all of the food, that's still going to be a stressor. But I think like my goal is just for it to be a holiday meal that is good, but that we're not talking about 10 years from now for like a funny, bad reason that I will find comical in 10 years, but not.
Right. Where you had to go for Chinese because the dog ate.
Because Mike was like, we can always order pizza. I'm like, no, we can't. If I'm going to bust my butt on all these other sides and things, you're just going to eat what's made. Sorry.
Is Mike getting the house ready? Because I actually think when it comes to hosting, there are 2 elements of it.
Yep.
One is the getting the house and the table ready, and that's a full-time job. And the other is getting the food ready. And the person getting the food ready should not be responsible for getting the house ready.
Right. So
that is absolutely rule number 1.
The nice thing is Mike has that whole week off. So before his parents get here, he will be the one cleaning. I'll probably, make the guest bed and that kind of thing, but he'll be the one cleaning. And then he knows that his role on the day of Thanksgiving is either keep everyone out of the kitchen or when I tell you I need help, you can jump in for those things. But it will likely be, I am not someone who like, if you're in my way in the kitchen, it's aggravating to me. Like Mike's job is stirring things. That's pretty much like what he'll come do. Sometimes he'll want to chop something, but I'm just so much faster at it. So I'm like, can you not? So yes, he will be like prepping the house in other ways.
I always envision the Hollywood movie controlled chaos and enjoyment of families. This is kind of what I picture Courtney, because Courtney goes down to see her family. And I know there's a lot of people. And I think the house is big enough that there's space for everyone. And I remember last year she set out like charcuterie. So I'm like, every year I'm like, somehow my family is going to accomplish this. Like we're going to drink wine and eat charcuterie while everybody does their dishes of what they're getting ready. And somehow magically the one oven will be enough to heat everything at the same time. And we'll just, and I'm like, I mean, Courtney, tell me, is it like that at your house? Because I really think it is.
It's like a real team effort. My dad smokes the turkey. My mom will then do the sides, a lot of which she does in advance. Don't sleep on doing things in advance and freezing them. Like they are just as good. Big life hack for my family. And then between myself, my brother, and Chris will help with the apps. And then we'll often delegate too. So like my grandparents come, my aunt, uncle, cousins, so they might be on dessert duty. So it really is a team effort. But yeah, doing things in advance is super helpful. Delegating is super helpful. We'll take turns, like clean, we'll all bring up our plate and things like that. But I think it's a well-oiled machine. My mom's always been the one to host, and that's sort of just the pattern that she's fallen into for like as long as I can remember. So Not to say it goes off without a hitch seamlessly, but yeah, that's sort of how we do it.
People get along. So I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown this year, Safira, already because my mother-in-law is coming to visit. My sister and her husband and her son are coming to visit. My cousin and her husband are coming to visit. My aunt is coming. My parents live right down the street, but in a small apartment. So there's no way everybody could fit. And I also invited our best friends in the neighborhood. So that's 2 more to come. And I've got my family.
So
And so I
what's
start,
the number?
it's 15. And I started to realize, okay, I can fit 15 between my dining room and the office that's across the hall if I set up like a folding table. But then I was like, the logistics of like, do people that get stuck in the office feel like they're at the kids' table and the people in the dining room got the better table? And then I was like, my kitchen just can't support this. I also have one oven and a toaster oven. And I started to have a little bit of a nervous breakdown. And I said to my mom, I was like, this just feels really overwhelming, but I really want all of these people. I'm super excited for this group of people to be together. And my mom and I all of a sudden were like, oh my gosh, we can rent the community room in her apartment building, which has a full kitchen in it.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. That
It
is
was
brilliant.
a couple $100.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And so it has a bar, it has a TV, it has a pool table because we have kids, right? There's kids in the mix. It's not just keeping adults happy. It's got foosball. It's got an outdoor patio. It's got a big long table that we can make look pretty. And then my mom's in the building. So she's got her china. I'll bring a few more place settings over to make sure we have enough. And we have her kitchen plus the kitchen in the community room. So it feels a lot better. I'm a lot less stressed. And I'm going to do what Courtney said. I'm making all of my sides ahead and I'm going to freeze them and have it ready so that I can be like super stress free. And we kind of assigned some things to people to bring that aren't coming from out of town. So it'll be easy. And I think it's going to be a great day. And I feel so much better than when I was envisioning. Now, I am a little sad that I don't get to set like my table and stuff, but I'm going to make a beautiful table in the community room. So I'll get that creative outlet there.
I love it. I love it. Well, and already you guys have visions on what it can and should look like, and holding true to your vision on what you want it to be and not negotiating that actually keeps us in control. Again, trying to compare ourselves to what a parent is doing or what the world is doing or how stress-free, Christine, you think Courtney's family is. Because I promise you, Courtney's mother may have done this for I don't know how many years, but she's still keeping her up at night. During Thanksgiving and not have a little bit of a did not sleep the night before, for
100%.
sure.
We've also done, in past years when we've really wanted to reduce stress is we've ordered like the whole thing from Whole Foods or whatever. I mean, there still is the logistics of getting everything warm at the same time, which is not easy, but at least it wasn't days and days of prep. So we have done that. I have also for Christmas, literally, there's been a year where I was like, we're having lasagna. I'm not doing another 5,000 sides and turkey and the whole thing. I want one dish to clean, one plate per person. I love going for Chinese on Christmas Eve. That's
a
fun
tradition.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And I'm in on that. So I think one of the things is, so there's a couple things at the holidays that really get the food and the creation of all the food and the timing is very stressful. The other is making everything picture perfect and the way that you think it should look, because logistically that's really hard and not everyone cooperates and puts on the matching sweater or pajamas. And so you've got to let that go because that actually doesn't dictate how fun the day will be.
Yeah. Well, and so this is where I think I have a more unique approach towards the holidays. And I will tell you guys a story kind of that's just like indicative of, and I promise you I'm not a Grinch and I promise you I'm not like anti-holiday, but it just is to give you some spectrum. So when you think about the holidays and I think about Christmas and the way we did it, my attitude towards gifts and events is that why should Hallmark or, a government holiday dictate? Why should Mother's Day be the one day that my husband spoils me? No, I want to be spoiled all year long. Why should my birthday be the day that everybody who I love calls me? Why can't I call them on my birthday? I'm like, take the rule book and rip it up. And so the way we did Christmas with my child, first of all, there are going to be mothers here who are rolling their eyes. I never told him that there was Santa Claus. I said,
Mhm.
why would you think there's somebody who comes down the chimney and does something for you? It is your dad and me. We are the ones who are good to you. So just get that in your head immediately. And then we had a neighbor across the street who was really good friends. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating. If he's listening to this, he's going to call me like, not 75 presents. But I know they had 2 trees and it definitely was more than 50 presents per child.
Wow.
And I will tell you, I mean, and again, I don't mind if you listen to this. We've taken presents over to their kids before and they're like, yeah, another of 50. So
Right.
I had my child make a list of everything they wanted to get for Christmas. I promise you, because of our attitude towards acquisition of things and so forth, there's like 3 things on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So, I spent $176. He probably sent $2,776 for kids. And we just have this mentality that it has to be this kind of TV picturesque. But I'm like, hey, don't do it the way, if you don't like that, don't do it. And you know what? Everybody's fine. My kid is healthy. My husband loves me. We are happy. We have a happy marriage and we do it differently. And I just want to give people permission to reject the norm.
Agreed.
Without any excuses or apologies. This is the way we do it. Hard stop.
Now, do you celebrate Hanukkah too?
No,
Which I know is much.
sometimes I'm a terrible Jew. A terrible Jew. I mean, we should. My son has got a good Jewish identity, but we just haven't. I'm just not very organized. So,
Yeah. So I'm not religious, right? So I know there are families out there, and my husband's Catholic. The Christmas for him is more about the religious aspect, and he'd rather it be that. He gets super stressed about the rest of it. He's like, I hate all the rest of it. It's stress. So everybody's miserable. And so I have said, let's make it more about an experience rather than things. And so we've done better and worse over the years about that. But we're not going away actually on Christmas Day this year, but the day after, we're going to New York City to spend time with my sister. And she's coming down for actual Christmas. So this is really going to be about spending time together.
Christine,
And
I love
enjoying-
that so much. And I'm going to do a little bit of a point my finger at you women out there who demand your husband get you a fancy gift. Get that shit out of your head. I promise you, if you prioritize your partner doing nice things to you and being nice to you and not the gifts they give to you, it is a total change dynamic. Because when you require them to do something fancy and expensive, it stresses them out.
Yep.
They don't think they can perform. And by the way, they probably can't. So they try really hard. They spend money you all probably don't have. They get you something that you don't like, and it just creates a big recipe for disaster. I tried for 2 years to say, no presents, just be like me. Total game changer. Now, if your husband loves to do it or your spouse loves to do it, but if it's stressful, why would you put them through that?
Yeah. And if they get you the hand lotion that you don't want and that he gave you 2 years before anyway, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Just say thank you. That's a little thing I get into with my mom. She's
just say thank you.
She says thank you, but she's very critical of what my dad gets her. My dad does not get her what she actually wants. But I'm like, you know what, Mom? You can get what you want. Like,
that's right.
Yeah,
wrap it up for yourself. I have to tell you guys a funny little story about the last time my husband brought me a really nice present. He knew I was really into, it's kind of when I just started to get into skincare about 15 years ago. And he bought me a bunch of clearance stuff. This is kind of before everything was available. And when you bought your clearance thing, you got like this gift pack, like a buy one, get one. And in the gift pack, it had an entire anti-cellulite treatment package.
So, like, how dare I give it to her?
So he totally thought he was like scoring. He got me like the perfume and the skincare that I wanted. And then he got me this, like a bonus
anti-cellulite.
And the entire thing was anti-cellulite. I saw it. I started to cry, completely, because my weight's been real. We should have an episode on weight, Christine, by the way, but we won't do it right now. And I was miserable for my whole birthday. And he was like, I'm never buying you another present again. And you know what? I don't freaking blame him. I do not blame him. So girls, presents are not the way people show love. Behavior and kind and like words and the way they greet you every day of the year, not on one day of the year. So I want people to get out of this. If they don't buy me a present, they are not a good husband. That is not true.
I appreciate the card and I'm terrible about getting him cards for holidays. And when he gets a card, Oj really writes, thank you. Thank you for being a great mother to our sons. Thank you for being there for me. Yeah, that means a lot more to me. I know
you have a very thoughtful husband in that way. I'm always very impressed with him.
Yeah, he did. I will say, just to get back to early days of dating, it was the holidays when we were first dating. I went up to New York to visit him and I got in a cab and he handed me a Tiffany box. And I said, what is this for? And he goes, well, it's Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. And he gave me a Tiffany ring. And I was like, oh shit, I got to marry this guy. This guy's a keeper. So there are times where there are surprise gifts that really do. But I think taking the pressure of the expectation of the gifts and then thinking more about the experience and the time together is so much more important. I can get a little wackadoodle about the decorating, and no one in my I've got 2 teenage boys and a husband that does not care about, he wouldn't notice the Christmas decorations went up or not. They really wouldn't notice. The most I usually can get them to do is to help me carry the Tupperware up from the basement, the boxes. They don't want to, it doesn't bring them any joy to decorate.
Yeah.
I do like it, but it feels like a lot to do and to take down. So I think this year I'm going to be very specific about what I do and what I don't do. I'm not going to do things just because I own the decoration. And there have been years where we've traveled and I haven't put up a tree. And I said to the boys last year, does having a Christmas tree matter to you? And I think they said yes. And I said, well, then that means you have to participate.
I love that. I love that. And that's real intentionality. That's what we're talking about. You're deciding this year that you're going to lessen the scope, and you're not going to just do what you did last year because it didn't bring you joy. And basically say to the family, this is an active experience for everyone. It's not just I do everything and you benefit from it.
Right. I do. Okay. So here's one thing that I do that I have found ways to make it easier over the years, but I send out a shit ton of Christmas cards. And I usually send them out first. My mother and I are both the first 2 cards that everyone gets. My friends tease me. They're like, who's going to win this year? You or your mom? But the main reason is because we take our picture in the summer. So then I am cheap and I order my cards when there's 50% off discounts, which is like in October. They start to get less and less as you get closer to the holidays. So I can get really nice cards for like $200 and I get a ton of
cards. You already done
cards.
your cards this year? You already have your cards?
Oh, I've had them for a month and a half. They've been sitting on my desk. And I bought the stamps. It's the horrible, horrible day where I print the labels, label them, stuff them. My Oj will occasionally help me, but everybody sort of looks at me like, I don't know why you do this. And they're right. It's my doing. But I love the cards that I get back, and I keep them up all year on a wreath that I can look at. That is a stress of my own making. I know I have that miserable day coming up that I need to get them done. And then when you add in the business side, so every year, it's like, what are we sending to our clients? What am I sending to my employees? There's a time where I'm like, between the cost of all of it and the stress of it, kind of kills me. But I have learned my employees do not want another thing that has our business name on it. That is like a shit gift, in my opinion. For God's sakes, they are not on a team where they have to wear our label all year long.
I don't know. I really like the M2M, that last little thermal thing. I took it to Spain. I really like it.
Good. Yeah.
We like that too.
Yeah, they like them, but that's not their thank you for a great year gift, right? So I found a website called Snappy Gifts. And I have done the past couple of years, I have done our client gifts through it, our employee gifts. They basically get to pick out of the catalog anything they want.
That's when I got my Theragun.
Yes.
I care.
Yes, I sent you a snappy gift, your Theragun.
And
yes.
I got my Theragun. I love my Theragun. Thank you. I love that. That's fantastic. That's a great gift concept. That's a great gift concept.
I might find one of our team members to take it over for me and just be like, here, go to town, give away.
I love it.
To last year who we sent client gifts to, do it for me. Yeah. So I'm trying to find techniques and ways to feel less stressed. And that has helped, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And this year I'm going to very deliberately make sure that I'm only doing things that are necessary. And I love what you said at the very beginning, Safira. What is my intention for the holidays? I'm going to really think about that. And then I'm also going to make it known to my family members.
So I'm so glad you said that, because I think that part of our society, and women, I don't know that we're worse than men about this, but I know that I'm not great about this. I will have an intention. I will not communicate that intention. Or I won't communicate it in advance of the expectation that I impose upon the people around me. And people cannot read your mind. And so, you don't have to say it in an ugly way. It's just, this is really what I want to accomplish. And then there's another thing I think is, what do you guys want the holiday to look like? Because that's the other thing I think is so common, especially for overachieving, wannabe, super hosts, Martha Stewart-esque. Is that what your family wants? And is it really fair for one person of the family to impose this basically what is going to end up being a huge list for the whole family when somebody else in the family may just want to chill out? And
Yeah.
fair. That's a fair consideration. So I hold people to a little higher accountability, especially if our listeners are women. We have such power in controlling how happy everybody is in our family. And it's not just my way or the highway. It's finding what people want and facilitating that while you balance what your own needs are. But I think the holidays are so delicate. It's such a tricky time. But I do encourage folks to do the experience piece of it, not the accumulation of stuff piece of it. And honestly, what we have together that's valuable is time and
I
quality
agree.
time.
Yeah. And as my parents get older, the time with them is really important. So I don't know, Courtney, Nicole, any other things that you guys do to make it a little easier, that your families do to make the holidays easier, or anything you wish that they did differently?
I feel like just boundaries and being transparent about, you guys both just mentioned this, like what's important to you. You talked about being super religious. Like my family isn't super religious either, but growing up, we went to church on Christmas Eve just because I think we felt like we had to. And then it got to the point as my brother and I were getting older, we sort of looked around, we're like, why are we doing this? And instead, what we did is we transferred that into a really nice dinner in Boston the night before. And that was so much fun. And we were like, well, this is amazing because we were with each other and we did something really cool. So being able to sort of look around and pause and be like, wait, is anyone having fun? And then
Right.
I think most of the time, like you're on the same page with your family and you guys can, I just felt like we all sort of were like, no, why are we here? And then it's the same thing with gift giving, right? Like my family is really also transparent about no surprises. Like just ask me, hey, what do you need? What have you had your eye on? I'll let you know. And then it just makes it sort of fun, but everyone's sort of just transferring gifts to each other that they know that they actually want and need. And so I think that allows you to, maybe it's not as magical on paper, but it actually just takes away from the stress. And then you end up just appreciating, the time together. And
We did an adult Secret Santa last year for the adults in the family, and it was through an app where you got to put in a wish list of things you wanted.
oh, cool.
And so it took away the guessing, and we put and my mother couldn't spend a ridiculous amount of money, right? That was also like, we got to keep it all even. I will say my brother-in-law didn't put his wish list in forever, and I had picked him, so I had to get creative. And then I think he finally put it in. And then when he got his gift, he probably was like, why didn't I get anything off my wish list? I was like, well, you didn't do it in time. I had to, anyway. But that really, I think, helped. One, we weren't looking at volumes of gifts. The gifts are more about the kids at that point. And, as my kids get older, it does help when kids get older. It's less junk. It's more, here's clothes that you really want, or here's money that you really want to go skiing or do whatever. So that has helped too. But I like that your family is intentional about it. Just know that when the kids come along, guys, it does wackadoodle the dynamic, because grandparents love to spoil them.
Well, and like my family, I come from a blended family. My parents divorced, so I have 3 step siblings on one side and 3 step siblings on the other, and then I'm in the middle. And so I think one of the good things that's come from that is my family has put less weight on the actual date versus we normally do Christmas with my stepsisters and their family in January.
Nice.
See,
we all have things, and you're pulled in the direction of your family, my family, extra family. There's just, and everyone wants the one date. And so I spend a lot of time driving around, bopping from one place to the other. And that's not fun. That's not fun. So
I think you need some recovery time.
Right. So that's it. I think that's the one thing with that, where especially when we have our own kids and want to put our foot down on this date is this for us.
Yeah.
My family's already set up for it. There's not an expectation of on the 25th or whatever it is that you are at our house.
Yeah. And I love, Nicole, that you even said the dynamic that, like you said, the word put the foot down. And what's really interesting, I'm just going to dissect that word.
Yeah.
Like it kind of suggests that you're being like bossy, or you're like,
right.
But I actually think I want to kind of recalibrate like what people may think. Like you're not putting your foot down. You're just defining what's important to you. And why can't we live in a world where other people look to or listen to us about what's important to us, which is, I don't really want on the 25th to go to 27 houses. I actually want to go do nothing and be in my pajamas all day.
All day.
So I'll see you on the 28th. And that's what's important to us. And that's not negotiable, friend.
Well, that's like with my stepsisters, we've already discussed, we already have our Christmas date, and Funnily enough, it is the 28th of December this year. So sometimes it's been in January, sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. And it's just nice because then we don't have to stress about there's so many logistics with the blended family as it is. That's one that allows us to set, different boundaries or, like I don't have to stress about where I need to be all at one time on this day. There's already enough of that as it is when you marry someone and there's a whole other family in that versus Mike has the pleasure of, I have all of these. I have mom's family, dad's family, stepmom's family, stepdad's family. So I come with 4.
Right.
Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So the
A lot of
dynamics of navigating that can be difficult, especially around the holidays.
Have you guys, I mean, obviously, we just went through the election. We just talked about it. I am so lucky. I literally know my 15 guests at Thanksgiving are all aligned with me politically.
Yeah.
I have no one to fight with. Have you guys navigated that? And I mean, Safira, what do you suggest to keep the peace?
Yeah. So first of all, I think this is really part of intentionality that we're talking about. I will say, if folks think I'm like the world's biggest selfish bitch, I think I can handle that because I'm also like the happiest bitch. So, I'm fine if you want to say that. But so here's the thing. So I don't go to Oklahoma because there are Oklahomans in Oklahoma. And I love my parents who are Democrats, but everybody else thinks the world is just perfect with Trump and Matt Gaetz being, appointed or for attorney general. Oh my God. Sorry, I just opened up a can of words. But I actually think you have to think about, so every time I have a dinner party or if I have a business dinner, I don't even let people sit where they want. I think about who is appropriate to sit here. What do I want the experience? And I'm not saying it's a control, but it's really thinking about what you want the overall dynamic to be. And having somebody in your house that is going to be triggering for us or be triggering for other guests, it's not worth it.
Right.
It is not worth it. And I think there's just still too much. It's still too close to the election. And so it's not an avoidance. It is saying, listen, the holidays are a time when a lot of us need to recover. And if you put yourself in a situation where you don't allow yourself to recover, then shame on you.
I do think there are some people that are younger and have to go home to families that they don't really have a choice. And, I think one of the things is remember, you can be in a room where people are saying things you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And you can choose to have the conversation back, or you can take a lot of deep breaths and know that you can retain what you believe within yourself and your life and choose not to engage if that's what you'd prefer to do to keep the peace. But I will say, I think that also can be an option if you are of an age where you can say, I love you, family, but I won't be able to be there right now. It's just a little too much right now.
Yeah,
and I think people should think about that.
No, I think that's right. Particularly if you know like your parents are going to be are completely different politically. Like I do think people should spend time with their parents and their family that they love, even though they have different politics. But you can also choose the time that you do that. And like Nicole said, if a person says, I've got to have that weekend to recover for whatever reason, or I really need to feel warmth and love and safety and enthusiasm, then I think this idea that, but I've always gone home. Well, then don't go home this year. And you can tell your folks, I'm going to be home actually the weekend of the 11th and 12th. And rather than being with you and the 27 uncles who all are nincompoops, why don't we just go out to dinner together? Like, I just want to give people permission to redefine what makes them feel happy versus feeling victim to everything their family has defined over the years.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you're hosting and you have the ability to look around you and invite friends that maybe don't have a comfortable place to go at the holidays because of family dynamics like that, if you can squeeze 2 more people in and give them a place with your family and your space that's safe, I encourage people to do that. And I think that's something in the past I maybe haven't thought to do, and I'm trying to. So
that's really a thoughtful idea, Christine. And now that you have this huge community room,
I was going to say I can invite hundreds. Who wants to come? It's a party. I just want to tell you one quick story of the Thanksgiving that really got me. I planned a Thanksgiving. It was COVID, but like later in COVID, so maybe 2022. And I was so excited about this Thanksgiving, and I was they had gone viral, I think, on TikTok, those really thin potatoes that you like press and you make them into a block and then you cut them and fry them. And oh my God, they're decadent and insane. I made those. At the last minute, Oj decided that he needed to fly out and spend time with his mom because his father had recently passed away. So I lost him. And then the day of Thanksgiving, my parents realized I think they had COVID. And so it was just me and my boys. And I had set the table for like weeks. I had the china, I had done the food. And I have to tell you, it was the nicest Thanksgiving, really, because it was just so easy. I let them each have a little sip of wine.
Christine?
I know. But it was a bit of a letdown when like we sat down, we ate, and we were finished in like 40 minutes after weeks of planning and prep and decorating. And they were like, okay, can we go play with our friends and we're out of here? And I was like, wow, all that. So you got to set your expectations that things don't always work out the way you plan.
Expect to be surprised. Remember, I told you that's a Saphiraism. Nothing's going to be the way you think it is. It's going to be different.
Yes. Yes. It was a lot of work for 40 minutes of Thanksgiving dinner.
Wow. Yeah.
So, well, I think ultimately I will try to keep my head on straight. I am traveling right before Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving, the week after that. I've got so much going on from a work perspective and a personal perspective that something is not going to happen or go correctly. So I am going to wash my hands of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the best I can do. I'm going to ask for help. You know, when my sister arrives, I may ask her to change the sheets on the guest bed because I may not have gotten to it.
Well, Christine, remember, we had, I don't know, proximity wise, but when we talked about the perimenopause, we also don't have as much gas in the tank, energy wise.
Yes.
And so as you're doing all that traveling, you've got to have recovery time.
Yep.
That recovery time we don't have the capacity like we used to because our bodies are changing. I just encourage you to really build in that care time.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to take off a bunch of days of work to go and lie around in my pajamas. Be ready.
Okay.
We had Veterans Day off and I stayed in my pajamas the whole day. And my Aura ring was like, you are so restored. I was like, yes. I loved it. It was a great day. I needed it desperately. I really did. So
more of that, please.
Yeah. Well, happy holidays to all of our You'll Thank Us Later listeners. Remember, prioritize yourself and what you need. You can do that and still be a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, a wonderful daughter, because keeping those boundaries are important. And Sapphira, every single episode, you remind me that I need to set proper expectations for my own life, and others will respect and respond to that. And thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. I think it's super important. And I have to remind you all, so it also helps me remind myself, I assure you.
Well, good. Well, happy Thanksgiving, guys. I really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.